Open up the Conservation Commission meeting for September 6, 2019. First item on the agenda is, we already reorged, right?
Yeah.
So, and the minutes are not there. So, first item on the agenda is continued from August 14th, a public hearing, notice of intent, Richard Montori, Town Manager, 964 Main Street, map and lot 4779, 4780, 4881, and 4893, DEP number 3051073. The applicant is requesting a continuance to September 18th. I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, continued from August 14th, is a public hearing notice of intent for John Thanaros, ACC Realty, 1037 North Street and 1547, 1553, 1563 Andover Street, map 39, lots 45 through 48, DP number 3051077. Am I? Wrong one. Okay, the applicant is requesting a continuance to September 18th. I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Is there anyone here for Tewksbury Department of Public Works or Wamsit Lanes application? All right, they're going to be continued when we get to them on the agenda. Just wanted to let you guys know. Next item on the agenda, continued from August 14th, is a public hearing notice of intent. Mark Ginsburg, 300 Ames Pond Drive, map 66, lot 12, DP 3051089.
They're in the hallway.
I think they were in the
Yeah,
hall.
they were, there they are.
There they are.
We're hiding on them.
You
Yeah.
are.
Can I go steal the easel?
Yeah.
But there's nothing on it.
Sorry, we were in the other room. You wonder why nobody looks familiar.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Just name and record for the...
Jim Hanley, Civil Design Consultants.
Dick Cuco, Woodland Design, Ginsburg applicant.
All right. So, what do we have? It's been continued for a while, but we want to give them an update. And is there anything outstanding that we need to go through? There's a bunch of letters here that I glanced through. Not really sure what we're supposed to do with them.
So
All right. Anyways,
I just want to confirm we're on notice of intent for 300 Ames Pond.
yep.
Okay. So again, Jim Hanley with Civil Design Consultants, and essentially we have an earthwork project here. We filed a notice of intent approximately 30 days ago, give or take, and I get maybe a 5-minute presentation just to walk through existing conditions, proposed conditions, and where we stand as far as reviews go. So the applicant is 300 Ames Pond LLC, and it's Mark Ginsberg and Arnie Martell, obviously located at 300 Ames Pond. The zoning, just so you know, is office research with the within the groundwater protection overlay district. The total lot area is approximately 31 acres, and we access Ames Pond Drive from Andover Street. Resource areas on site include Ames Pond, the BVW associated with Ames Pond, your local 25 and 50 foot no disturb and no build zone, as well as the 100-foot wetland buffer. Slopes are essentially, I call them moderate. We have a high point of approximately 176 located in the center of the property, and then down around the pond we're down about 148. So there's about a 30-foot drop, but it's over quite a distance, so it's fairly shallow. Cover on site is basically we have the existing driveway that leads us back to the portion of the property where we're proposing to do the earthwork, and then woods. For the most part, it's completely wooded out there. So the reason we're here in front of you tonight is to perform earthwork operations to essentially prepare the site for future potential development. What we've done on the design side is we've taken great pains to ensure your 25-foot wetland buffer, your no disturb buffer is maintained. So when we started looking at this thing, that was the first thing we did, is we outlined that 25-foot, kicked it over a few feet before we started to do any kind of earthwork or any kind of grading. So there's no impacts proposed within your 25-foot. We've also gone to great pains to shield the existing property line shared with the residential abutters. We have a minimum of a 40-foot buffer along those property lines, and that's comprised of a 25-foot natural buffer right up against the property line, and then a minimum of a 15-foot wide planted buffer. And that's going to be planted with 12 to 14-foot high evergreen trees spaced approximately 15 feet on center, give or take. So of the 31 acres that we have out there, we're proposing to disturb approximately 14, so a little less than half of the entire site. Essentially what we're proposing to do is place erosion controls along the perimeter of the disturbed areas. We've constructed, I think the other one, maybe the next page over, probably shows it a little bit better. Essentially along the perimeter of the earthwork operations, we have a diversion swale leading to settling basins. We have one here. We have this swale here that leads to another basin here. And then we carry this area here around, this area here around to another settling basin in this area here. Really, the only reason for those, because the impact on drainage isn't much. We're going from a wooded lot to 4 inches of lumen seed to stabilize the whole thing, so there's not a large increase in peak discharges. But this allows the water to shed into those swales, stay in those swales, drop any fines that may have been collected along the way before it discharges out into the wetland area. Tree cutting and stumping. Then we'll be regrading. The lot. And then at the end, we're placing 4 inches of lumen seed to restabilize everything. Where we are right now is we're in front of planning board. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was their last meeting in August. They have approved our land disturbance permit. It's a major permit because we disturb more than 40,000 square feet. We have filed, obviously, with Planning Board and therefore with DPW. Department of Public Works has reviewed our project, and we have agreed on any of the technical comments that they have made. We've addressed. So there's no remaining technical comments. They had a couple of comments specific to where is the dirt going to go, how much is going to come on site, how much is going to go off site, and how you're going to get there. And until we kind of get out there and we actually start having a better idea on when, we're not going to know really where. So that'll go back and forth, and we'll coordinate that with DPW as the time comes. So having said that, the last bit here, and the reason we weren't in front of you last time is because we still don't have a DP file number, which we now have. And if you have any questions, try to answer them for you.
So, how much of this notice of intent is under the auspices of the state, if you will? You're working things out
Sure.
with DEP?
I'm not sure there's anything,
Well, we have a SWIP.
there's been no technical comments, right. So we have a file number, and we have yet to receive technical comments. I think it was submitted the first week in August, so it's well over a month at this point. So,
Do a SWIP, though, right?
yes, of course. So one of the conditions of the land disturbance permit with planning board is to do the stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Right.
So that's also been developed, provided, and reviewed by DPW.
DEP and the DEP?
So DPW likes to review it,
Yeah,
so they review it. It's
town
really an
engineers looking at it
EPA.
too.
I'm sorry?
Town engineers looking at it too.
Yes, yep.
And when we say DPW, we
Gotcha.
mean town engineer.
Yep, I understand. Stefania, you had
Yes,
some,
and just to recap, we're actually here, I think it was the end of July, to talk about the limits of the resource areas.
Right.
And there was a little bit of back and forth with the reviewer, but an ORAD has been issued, so we do have that line as a definitive approved, accepted line.
so is this comment here true then, still? They said there was none.
There is, for the
roadway?
The stabilized construction entrance is within the notice of zone, right? But is that the existing road to?
Yes.
The site,
It's a
okay.
paved road.
Oh, okay, oh. It's just, it wasn't clear that it was already paved.
Gonna be redoing that pavement or anything?
No.
No.
And so I guess the way I'd look at this is step one of a project maybe in the future, and this is to try just to prep the site. So no pavement, no building, no utilities, just to do the earthwork and stabilize it to get it pad ready.
Right, so, I mean, obviously, the interest on my part is not bringing in more dirt than you're taking out, or is that really,
Oh yeah, we won't be bringing in dirt. If anything, there's an export. We're gonna try to stockpile as much as we can
Yeah.
on the site, just so that it gives us some room in the future. We don't have to go back and then bring it in.
All right.
But it'll be an export job.
okay, so you're not bringing anything onto the site, it's all gonna be off?
Yeah,
brought off.
the only thing I can possibly think, maybe some loom.
Stone loom, the wrap, things like that to build.
The loom,
Sound.
though, 4 inches of loom, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically what's happened is we're getting the site pad ready, but it might be 6 months, it might be 2 years, so we can't leave it in, just loam. So as we finish each section, we will re-loam it, seed it, move to the next section. So basically, all the trees will be cleared, stumped, but then we'll work each section until we work our way out. And so at the end, when it's all done, it'll be stabilized,
Yeah.
and it'll be vegetated.
Gonna take out the rocks and the stumps and all that good stuff, smooth it out?
Yeah, what it is, Mr. Chairman, and you...
I've seen it done before,
Yeah, you probably were here when the other one came in.
yeah.
Whatever development goes on in there, that's the grade that the old office park was at and everything. It's pretty much at the grade that we are showing on this plan. So it's kind of, if we get somebody that is interested in the property, they want to be able to, not wait 3 years to get a year and a half for the permitting and then a year and a half to get the site ready. It's 3 years down the road. So once this site is, get the land disturbance, and once it's stabilized, then whatever happens, we'll have to come in again for a notice of intent for whatever ultimately goes on the property.
Right. Anything else, Stefania?
No, I don't have any questions.
I have one. The septic tank that you're taking out is going to be hauled off-site?
Sure.
Okay. And the other question I have, which is really dumb to ask, but you're within the delineation that we approved
Yes.
A month ago?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
No, I'm okay.
All right. This is a public hearing. Anyone to be heard on the matter? Hi, you want to just
Grab the mic.
want to just step up there and grab the mic or anything? That's good.
My name's Ken Alley. I'm 100 Cardigan Road, which is, if you look at the plan, it's that one. I've got a few questions that concern water management. I've been on this site since 1972. I bought new. Over that period of time, I've had two kind of ongoing issues. One is that periodically, maybe once every couple of years, there's a rainstorm that overwhelms the culvert that's in that right of way and floods a small portion of my backyard. So one concern that I have with this, either now, this plan here, or going forward, if they're going to use the same contours going forward and have a lot more hard surface, a lot more runoff, is whether or not what they're doing here with the recontouring delivers more water in a short period of time, if you will, to that culvert in such a way that when it does overflow, and it will every couple of years, that the overflow is worse. That's my first concern.
You want to can you address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just so the commission knows, and
Oh, yeah.
just so the commission knows and the abutters know as well, at this point, there's no plan for any impervious surface, no pavement, no nothing. It will go from woods to grass, and there is an increase in the curve number, and that increase will result in an increase in peak discharge to our design points. But what we've done is we've looked at these settling basins as providing two different benefits for us. First, they're going to slow down the water as it gets into these swales, into these settling basins, and solids will drop, but we're also going to attenuate the peak flows. And we've actually prepared a fairly, I guess it would be standard, but fairly involved drainage analysis as well, where we looked at the current day peak discharge coming out of this wetland, coming overland onto these two lots, and then going out into the pond. What goes out into the pond there's no change in essence because it's such a small area. Overland, what was going into these two lots here during the largest storm events, we've cut it down by about 85%, give or take. So there's more area going into this wetland, but we also have the largest diversion swale as well as settling basin. And that basin provides the volume that we need to slowly release the water into that wetland. So we understand the butter has an existing problem, and what we do when we do this initial design is just make sure that it's not going to be worse. That's really kind of our goal at this point. We got a heads up that there was this possible concern, so we went out there last week to try to look and get a sense for where that culvert is and the condition that it's in. And without having permission to trudge all over his property, we took a quick look and we couldn't find it. And so I know it's there, but I think it's probably in some dense vegetation. So I think we can look at that and maybe try to clean it out or something along those lines to make it better. But what we've designed here won't make it any worse. And so we've put this together, and then we've submitted it to DPW, who's done a thorough review, as they always do.
Those swales sort of act as recharge then?
Yeah, we don't, but we didn't take into account, so in this analysis, all we took into account was the volumes. We just, we didn't take into account that they actually do recharge. So there's actually, we've done it in a fairly conservative manner. But yeah, they certainly will. They're gonna have 4 inches of loam. They're really not cut too far. Water table is down somewhere about the wetland line. These swales are gonna be up 10 feet above that, so you will get a fair amount of recharge.
Right. But it's, you're not changing the grade, right? Does that address your concern?
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
All right, well, I guess the second part of this first concern is, are these grades more or less the permanent grades for whatever development comes in the future, where there very well will be a lot more hard surfaces?
Well, I think that's a different, when
Okay,
they actually come in with that plan. I think we're talking about but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what would happen is, once we know how much paved surface and roof is there, it won't be those settling basins. There'll be larger detention basins to handle
Good enough.
whatever. This is only to go from forested to manicured.
Right.
Let's call it manicured, even though it's not. Once we decide what's gonna go in there, there'll be way bigger detention basins than are there now. It's
Right.
because obviously the pavement, you know, there's quicker runoff, you know, the amount of volume is even less, because on pavement you don't get any, you know, percolation in. So, yeah, so the basins that you see out there now for this will be basically, they're dwarfed compared to what will be there once we have a larger impervious area.
You'll have everything better controlled then, when the,
Well, because we'll know exactly how much pavement, which direction it's going in, how much rooftop, you know, because
Yep.
we have to recharge all of the roof runoff, so depending on what goes in there, so.
So this is the first step of another step, which will be putting buildings in, and they're gonna be putting in more stormwater management. Does that?
Okay,
sort of answer your
I
question?
guess that works for me. And engineering-wise, they've looked at
A lot of people looked at this.
what the flow was going to
Yeah.
be for this phase, and this is not the end of the battle as far as flow is concerned.
Oh, no.
And also, if the commission's okay with it, would you locate that pipe there, the drainage swale there, the pipe there, if you're okay with us going there and cleaning it out?
Yeah, I guess we could put that as a,
Vegetation.
so we'll put that, we'll amend the conditions, just put on a special condition to locate and clear out this culvert.
It's not, it's my neighbor's culvert.
Okay.
It's, I've got the right of way, but he's got the culvert.
We'll just say the culvert that was mentioned in the meeting,
Yeah, okay.
right? Sounds good.
Second issue, again, my long history with this site is that I've got a split entry house, so 3 feet of my living space is below grade. The history is that I have a high groundwater table, surprisingly enough, just about at the height of the brook that runs through there. And, you know, over the years, that's affected primarily my septic system, but also in the beginning, when I lived there, some wet water into the lower level. Haven't had much of that lately going forward, but I am concerned that this settling basin, which when it's full of water, will be at elevation, I believe, what, 145? That's what the overflow is, at 145? It's up on this, yep, right there. Yep.
145, yeah.
All right. And that my backyard is at about 137, so my basement is about 136, 134 or something. So that's a 10-foot potential surcharge to the groundwater. That again, you know, I need to be assured that somehow or other that's being considered. And I'll give you a little history.
Is the question then a question of raising the groundwater is your
Yes.
concern?
That's the question of raising because of the proximity of the swale to my property, does in fact that surcharge the groundwater and give me problems going forward.
Is there
Yeah, so I
comments
guess
on
what I could point out is that, I believe this is your
Yeah.
your house here?
Yeah.
So our 145 would be the top of our riprap stone, and that's usually 18 inches thick is what it is. So we're actually gonna be down closer to 143 and a half on the berm piece to it, and then the stone goes up on top of that, right? So at your 143 and a half, we're closer to this location right here, which is essentially kind of beyond your lot here. So we're gonna be in this general area here as it starts to, so as this begins to.
So right there where your finger
Yeah.
is now, what's to keep that groundwater, that water there from perking down in?
I mean, just.
Crossing I'm just asking that
Yeah,
question because
But basically-
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's all.
well, here's the basic, it's not, the water table doesn't run level with the ground, because if it did, it would be breaking out all over Massachusetts and the world. It follows the contour of the land, all right? So is the water table gonna raise because of what we're doing over here? No. If you take an example of that is, we did a project down by the airport where we cut it 50 feet. Well, the water table wasn't 50 feet, nobody's flooded, the water table, it fluctuates and it moves itself around. It's not, if the ground goes like this, the water table goes like that. If the ground goes like this, the water table doesn't do this.
No, but that's not the point, Richie. The point is that is the groundwater table, because of this surcharge, is it a foot below the surface? Is it 3 feet below the surface? Is it 4 feet below the surface? I need you to tell me that
It's gonna go in.
that I'm gonna be all right.
You're thinking that the groundwater is only gonna go to you, Ken. The
Of
groundwater
course.
is, if the groundwater is raised, it's gonna be raised 360 degrees around. It doesn't,
It depends. It depends upon, the gradient and the fact
Well, it
that
depends on the soil.
that it.
Well, I mean, just, it seems like you're talking about if your land is sitting on top of a puddle.
Well, it's not. It's
If it's flat, it's gonna distribute. What your concern is if you're in a puddle, if all of a sudden it fills up even more.
Well, kind of like that, but
I don't think they can
basically,
really-
if this is the contour of the ground, and this is the contour of the groundwater, as Richie was saying, but now all of a sudden, you put a lot of water in right up here, well, this groundwater contour potentially raises up, and I'm so close now, from my history, that I'm just concerned, I'm just putting it out there, that I need some assurance that
I understand where you're coming from. It's always been kind of like everyone's concern is that the groundwater on the table is gonna like rise, and I've never actually seen it happen.
Okay, well, I'm going on record here as saying that, when I get a flooded
They
basement,
do all these
I'm gonna
borings.
come running to somebody.
So, possibly, you do agree, you've got a flooded basement now,
No,
but you had in the past.
Back in the early 70s, when I bought the house, yeah, and things have happened since then, whether it was the fact that the septic system got taken out when they put in sewer, or I don't know, but I haven't had it for a long, well, since the early 70s, since before I finished my.
Your septic could have been the issue then, if it was backing up.
Well, it could have, but here I am, I see, and to be perfectly honest with you, part of what's driving this is that part of this same question came up with the MetLife project, when they had their retention pond kind of directly in, more down directly in back of my house. And I brought this question up at that point, and I believe that they couldn't address it. They couldn't from an engineering standpoint, tell me
Well,
that things.
Let me ask the engineer then, it's like this rising water table that we're talking about.
So there's a couple of things to consider here. The first is, water's gonna travel the path of least resistance. At elevation 143.5 plus or minus, it's gonna have no resistance right through this weir, right here. If it were a problem.
Well, then it's going down from there, it's going into the
then
ground
it's-
after that.
Well, it's going into the wetland, through the culvert and off the site.
Okay.
That's one piece to it. This wetland here, adjacent to our weir, is down another 4 feet plus or minus. So we'd always have the ability to go in here and lower this weir if we had to. We don't think we would have to, but that would be the assurance that if there were issues, we would be able to address it, okay? Now, the final one is, this is the pre-development topography, and this is the house in question here. We actually have 4 acres of area that discharges completely and totally sheet flowing off of our lot through the abutters and eventually into Cardigan. That's 4 acres of area that is no longer going there in the proposed condition. Because now we've caught this in these swales, we're gonna route it through our retention basins and discharge into that well. So it actually gets into the water course, it'll discharge upstream.
We're talking groundwater.
No, I get it, I get it.
We're not talking sheet flow, the groundwater is still gonna be there. It's still gonna flow, sheet flow the way it is now. Because once it becomes groundwater, you haven't changed anything there. You just lopped the top of it off, but the groundwater is still gonna flow in the same direction.
When you, so I guess,
So what I'm saying is I'm getting all the groundwater that I used to have, plus potentially I'm getting some surcharge from the retention, from the location of the retention pond. So
But it should be, but
my
it's-
biggest question is whether or not the retention pond is in the right spot, or whether it could be pushed up further up, along the wetland or something, so that it's not right there. That's all.
So the surface area will impact the groundwater elevation. The more area that you have within any watershed, that waterfall or the runoff that we get will impact groundwater elevations. And we're able to take, essentially 100% of the area that contributes to that and reroute it over to the wet.
Okay, in one argument, you're saying you're gonna get a lot of percolation so that you're not gonna get runoff. And now you're saying that,
No, what he's saying here, Ken, is, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
If it's coming out into this wetland, this is level.
Right.
So now you got any extra, if, I don't think the groundwater's gonna raise, but if it did, it's gonna be equally distributed over this whole area. It's not gonna go,
well, that's not true, because it's not gonna.
how do you say that's not true?
Because there is obviously a gradient in that area now. When there's water flow,
Well-
there has to be a gradient. So-
Okay, all right. I think they have addressed your concerns. I understand where you're coming from, but it's like, I think, and even in the future, when they do further site development, if anything did happen, I'm sure they could address it then. But, that you have a lot of conditions that led to your wet basement before.
No, not.
Well, I mean, the septic tank, you had
Who
septic
knows?
going into it, right? Who knows?
The question is, who knows? My only question here is it engineeringly probable, I won't even say possible, probable, that dumping all of that stormwater into a retention pond whose sole purpose in life is to leach it down into the groundwater without it flowing, without it being surface flow. If that is affecting the groundwater in.
They're trying to get the recharge to emulate pre and post condition as close as possible.
Yeah, that's-
Yes, no?
Yes, yeah, and so.
So we're talking recharge of groundwater.
And the other thing, this groundwater here is gonna have an 8-foot berm between the inside of the pond and the abutting wetland. There's an 8-foot wide berm at the top. That's a lot less for water to infiltrate through and get into this wetland than the 50 We already know we have 40 feet here undisturbed, and however much more it would take to get back to those lot, to that lot, so, basically.
What they're trying to do is slow it down as much as possible.
I guess the only assurance we give them is our experience has been over 50 years that putting in detention basins with, where we concentrate the water flow has not raised the water table historically. I mean, it's a different, basically, here's the situation. We have a set of regulations that are developed by a science. We design by the regulation, we design by the science. That's all we can do. We can't do any more.
And been reviewed by the town engineer and the DEP.
You have a lot of people reviewing this.
That's fine. Who do I call?
I think it's 1-800-ALMIGHTY.
Well, if there are issues in the future, then you can always talk to your neighbors.
Next guy calls, so you-
Yeah, I know. I'm not. And just one other thing. There is just, and I'm not even sure this is the place to bring it up, but currently from my backyard to the top of your berm, which is how far from my house? 75, 50 feet, 75 feet?
Yeah, more than that, probably 100 and change.
Something like that. There is a almost a 20-foot change in grade. Which, I mean, when I go out there and walk it, I don't believe it, and I challenge you. Remember when we were talking, I challenged you about, I don't see that, but that's what these contours say. I'm going from 136 to 154 or 155 or something in 75 or 100 feet. I mean, I'm gonna be seeing a hill that is higher than my house.
But it's already existing right now.
Well, if you look at the contours,
We're not
and we
raising
can,
grade, we're cutting grade, it's not raising the grade.
oh no, you're in there, you're because everything flows down to the brook, so whatever your fill cut line is back on the site,
You're right,
you're
that's not
bringing a lot
conservation.
down.
We're not telling nothing yet, that's all current.
Well,
We have a landscape berm along the 25 feet of no touch.
Yeah.
It's 3 feet high.
I know, but
3 feet, so
it's
you'll see-
3 feet from
The existing grade.
from your contours.
No, from the existing grade.
Existing
it's
grade.
3 foot high.
Okay. I mean, I tried to figure that out by, I got a contour map from the town and that kind of stuff, and I'm trying to figure out why it's anything other than almost 20 feet high, and I'm having a problem with that. So I guess, I'm not sure whether this is where I bring that up, but I sure would like to have somebody look at that. And if it's true, and if there's some way you can soften that, so that.
That sounds more of a planning board issue when they actually develop the site.
It's gonna log on his own property.
Right.
We're only 25 feet off the property.
Whatever that grade is right there, we have a 3-foot landscape berm moving on top of that.
But, Mr. Chairman, just so you know, that we told him and all the neighbors that we're gonna walk the property before we touch any trees there. So if there's any more grading you want done or less done, trees more plant that are taken down, we're gonna do that before we do any work there anyways. And you guys are more welcome to do that walk also.
Okay, but that's a planning board issue going forward.
Yeah, I would imagine. And I think they've demonstrated, and hopefully to your satisfaction, that they're trying to attenuate the flow of the stormwater and discharge it as slowly as possible,
Well,
so that won't affect your water table.
I agree. It's an issue that they can't put a number to and tell me that it's gonna be all right. And I'm sure Richie, with his 52 years of experience, is probably.
Mr. Kuko's looked at it, Mr. Hanley's looked at it, the town engineers looked at it, the
Okay.
DEP's looked at it, and we've heard about it, and we've looked at it, so it
I
looks
don't
like
think that
it looks like a
beaver
pretty
design
good
looks
plan.
beefy enough. If you say it's beefy enough, I go along with it.
It looks-
Never designed a beam that somebody said wasn't beefy enough.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, sure. I have another gentleman, your name, address for the
Ryan,
record?
110 Carnegie Road.
Yep,
I guess I own the culvert, huh?
Lucky you.
My context is kind of before and after. I had a lot of questions about basement 5, but I guess there's a lot of questions about basement 5. This is currently zoned as office research, right?
I don't know.
That, if it's a zoning question, that would not be for
Okay,
this
fine,
board.
fine. Again, before and after, okay? If it is rezoned, would you folks look at the conservation plans and the drainage plans already submitted differently than you would as it is today?
We don't look at any zoning.
You don't?
We
So
would
you look
only,
at,
we would only look at the post-development construction and its,
Okay.
and the ability of it to handle the stormwater
so
and
we
recharge
have
and everything.
drainage studies have already been submitted and reviewed by town officials and the representatives, is that correct?
Not for post,
Okay,
for this
right now,
particular
For this.
right
project.
now, right
For-
now.
Right now, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, got it. This land is gonna be significantly modified
Correct.
over 18 to 24 months based upon, factors affecting, that only the applicant controls in most
I
cases.
can't say it's gonna happen in the
Okay,
next 2
so
years.
the question is, again, it's before and after.
Yeah.
They're doing studies on the land as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have a significant change to it. And
Well, I mean,
they, and
the
their,
grading,
and their,
okay.
their word is they're trying to minimize any changes in the existing conditions.
Right.
So when you go through a significant change, are there going to be additional studies performed by
Yes.
you folks to say,
Yep.
this is where we are, and if the flow is not what you anticipate, you're gonna do some additional work to
The
get
ideal,
it as it is today?
the ideal and the target is that pre and post development, before anything was done, when it was just natural land.
Right.
And after development is done, that the stormwater, the recharge and everything is the same as before. And can be better if there are drainage issues that might be affecting you guys.
This is
So
all-
they're trying to not only keep it the same, but make it better at certain points, like your drainage ditch. If there's problems with it, maybe there's something they can do to tweak it, later on, to like, oh, we can help them out with this by making a bigger recharge chamber or something like that.
So additional drainage studies will be performed once this general clearing is completed?
Right.
Or only if someone raises the flag?
For future
Storm-
development.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
He might not have heard that when we mentioned that
This is
earlier.
only just to get landscape, if
Fine.
it changes the
Got
grades,
it.
landscape
Got it.
up there,
Okay.
any type of development, no matter what zoning it's gonna be for, we'll be back in front of this committee and many others
Okay.
at that time.
Got it. Thank you. The settling basins, are they temporary or permanent?
Temporary to this phase.
Okay. So they may not exist there once you go
Once you
through with your,
no,
you
sure,
finalize your
Give me
plans.
something bigger to handle that, to accommodate the impervious areas.
Well, we know it'll be bigger.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course we do.
Yeah, because right now we have no pavement, so.
Okay,
they'll
yeah,
have to-
exactly.
So they'll
There's-
have to be bigger.
There's no natural land to absorb the water.
Yeah, they'll have to be
The
bigger.
asphalt,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But would it be in that same location?
Not
Would it be?
necessarily.
You don't know.
They're gonna design it the best way.
Scratch all over again.
Okay, so,
That's why they pay all these engineers all this money to
okay.
make.
Now, speaking of the engineers, there's been a lot of development projects presented in this area. Ken's been there since 73, I've been there since 85, so, we enjoy the area. There's been a lot of development studies provided in the past through appropriate town channels, Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and things like that. Have you folks and these other boards looked at prior drawings to validate the accuracy and the validity of what these people have here on their drawings? Did we do that?
We did it right now. We did it.
We just did an ORAD, yeah.
Yeah, it was, the last conservation meeting, they did it, the state reviewed it at that point in time. Because those flags back then would be no good from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And
that's-
there's probably more wetlands there today than there was 20 years ago.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to go by those old plans. You can't, and legally, you can't go by the old plans, so. We've all been
They're only good for
done by
3
the board and
Okay.
by the state.
I think the plans are good for 3 years or something. like
Okay.
that.
Got that, thank you. Again, you went through the Basin 5, which I had a lot of questions on, and I think I probably have more on Basin 5 now, but there seems to be short-term, long-term, a significant amount of water being discharged towards Basin 5, based upon the drawing size as well as the elevation. It looks like the elevations are, the drainage is more towards Basin 5 than it is to Ames Pond, which is where I believe the applicant would be his most opportune place to build is closer to Ames Pond. So it's all being discharged towards Basin 5. Seems to be the elevation, it's all pitched this way here. I'm not sure that, huh?
There's no relevancy for future development on this plan right here.
And the volume of water flow, they've already done supposedly, in the culvert's my property, you can go by anytime you want and take a peek at it, no problem. Appreciate you're willing to look at that. But I just don't see, not an engineer, but from common sense perspective, where that water is going to go.
It's gonna, they're trying to make it go to the same place it's going right now. That's the intent of their plan.
And the proverbial word is trying.
Well, they are, all right.
We paid, once again, good money from the tell me that the pre and post conditions have to be neutralized.
Not only, if I may, not only can they be neutralized, but we couldn't, if we wanted to, by regulation, say, we're gonna knock this whole hill down and take all the water that's coming this way now and push it the other way. We can't do that. The state doesn't allow us to do that. Whatever's going to that watershed in pre-development has to go there in post-development. There's 3 different watersheds. What's going there now in pre-development has to go there in post-development. We can't make the increase in runoff any greater than it is in pre-development conditions.
That makes
But we
sense.
can't take it and say, we're gonna take all the Atlantic Ocean and push it in the Pacific Ocean. That's kind of a broad way of explaining it.
So what he was explaining, these watersheds,
Yep.
right, did that make sense to you, that it's not just one big property, but?
Right, there's different pockets.
Right.
And they're trying, in each one of these watersheds, maybe try is the wrong verb to use, but they're engineering it so that, you know, it will be the same pre and post, and that these watersheds handle the same.
So there won't be any significant changes in how they look and how they operate today and work today.
The water, the way the water, the stormwater and the recharge and everything like that would be the same. But, you know, and where these swales are and where these, they're gonna be changing them to detention basins or whatever they're gonna be doing, it's gonna look a lot different after on their next site plan.
And should we anticipate an increase in standing water with this over time, with this expected high volume of water discharge going to certain areas?
In those swales, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, it's going to, so basically, as Dick indicated, how we design this is really governed by regulation. I can't design something that increases the rate of runoff that's gonna go through that culvert. And that's why we provide these volumes and these swales to try to hold it back before it gets there. Eventually, it'll discharge out, and we're gonna match that rate. That's what we have to do. So it's a fairly standard analysis that then we do and gets reviewed by the town. So the town's had has a professional engineer like myself go through all of my calculations, question all of my stuff, make sure that it's at least put together according to the standard.
Now, the question is, this is maybe personal, but that's me right
Yep.
here. That's me right here. So here's Basin 5. Is there going to be swales on both sides of the
Yes.
Basin 5?
Yeah, so essentially how this worked is that we'd capture any water that's coming off in this direction here, discharge it into this pond, same as over here, and then it discharges through this rock riprap.
It goes here, but
Where?
Would any of it continue down to?
Oh, no. So there's no opening along here. So we funnel it essentially into this pond and then into this the same location it was going before. Right.
All right. So if you know this discharge going this way, that it's not going to pick up.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Should
time.
you,
All
are
right.
you okay with us going on your property to check that culvert
Yeah,
out?
yeah, sure. Anytime.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Seeing no one rising. The commission have any other questions that were raised?
No, I'm good.
All set? Yeah, so I imagine that we want to close the public hearing. I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries, and as for the notice of intent, can I get a motion to approve the notice of intent with the standard order of conditions with, an additional condition, I forget what it was.
To allow us to use the culvert, the new, they body culvert.
Right.
With the abutters permission.
With the abutters
With the
permission.
butters permission. All right. And other than that, I don't think there are any other special conditions. So can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
I'm not sure you,
Next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing, a request for the determination of applicability, Tina Razzaboni, 260 North Billrica Road, map 3, lot 88. Hi, good evening. Your name and address for the records, please?
Tina Razzaboni, 260 North Boulevard. I'm Kristen Cowan, Hancock Associates, representing,
All right, so just give us a brief rundown of what you're up to while I read through
I have this little version of the plan. We have a 1 acre lot here with wetlands surrounding it on the south and west sides. It's a pretty flat lot. Tina would like to propose a 744 square foot addition here, but 144 feet is the only portion that's in the buffer zone. It's at the very edge of the buffer zone, about 92 feet away. And also between that, there's her existing house and pool.
Okay,
So
sounds reasonable.
looking for a negative determination of applicability.
All right, sounds reasonable.
Much easier than the last one, right?
Much easier. You have any questions?
I have none.
All set?
I'm fine.
I think this is pretty standard. I don't see any issues with it, so this is a public hearing. I get a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And as for the motion for a negative determination, can I get a motion to that effect?
As stated.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing, a request for determination of applicability. Arthur G. Marcos, Department of Public Works, Breckenridge Road, between number 89 and number 130, map 111, lots 71 and 72, and Jenny's Way, first lot on the left side, map 110, lot 1008. After all that, the applicant is requesting a continuance to September 18th. I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is continued from 8/14, an enforcement order, Ray Gilbert, 20 Sandy Lane, map 94, lot 305. And we have a notice of intent afterwards. So, seeing as they brought forward the enforcement, okay. Can't pull it back into compliance just yet. So, we just like table this? Nadia, what should we do for the enforcement order? I mean, we basically told them to come up with an enforcement order. They did everything that we told them to do,
Right.
so can we
So
just like
it-
bring them back into compliance on the enforcement?
Technically, it is in compliance
Right.
because they came back with a
Okay.
notice of intent.
Does that make sense, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so can I get a motion to bring the property back into compliance with regards to the enforcement order?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Excellent. And as for the next item on the agenda is a Public hearing notice of intent, Ray and Michelle Vibert, 21 Sandy Lane, map 94, lot 305, DEP 3051088. Hi.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Michelle Vibert, 21 Sandy Lane.
Great. So want to bring us quick up to date of what you're,
Sure. Actually, if I could pass out a couple of revised plans that I have. There's two for everybody.
Okay.
So recently, we attended a Board of Appeals meeting. They, long story short, voted to approve a temporary structure at 21 Sandy Lane, which is behind the single-family dwelling. The plans that you have in front of you, the one on top shows the existing garage. When we had come back on July 10th for the enforcement order, the existing garage is showing where it was. You had said it was fine where it stood, but you had wanted to know where Board of Appeals stood on the matter. So we attended their meeting first. Since that, we've actually moved the garage further out of the wetlands. It is now abutting the lot line. We realized when we had the plot plan done that it was actually on somebody else's lot. So we had to move it off of their lot to bring that onto our
so
own.
off their lot and further away from the wetland?
Correct.
Sounds like a good plan.
So the other plan that is behind it, it just shows the proposed garage by itself. It's a little clearer to see. It's just showing the one box.
So the Board of Appeals gave you the distance from the lot line?
Yes,
Okay.
as long as it is a temporary structure.
So we want us to approve the one,
It's the proposed garage location. It shows on the top plan, it shows the two boxes.
yep,
It shows the dotted line is the one that would be the one that's, we're proposing to do.
Stefani. What do you think?
What makes it temporary? Like, when would it come down?
Everything I have researched says it is based on time, because I wasn't sure what that meant. But it is based on time and not what you construct it out of. We are actually building a house in another state, so we are planning on taking it up there with us.
Oh, it's like a pole barn?
It's a metal garage. He likes to tinker around with his trucks and tools, and
Sure.
he's a guy at the end of the day. So we are planning on bringing the garage up north.
Okay.
So it is temporary. If we move, it is not staying there. It was a lot of money, and we don't plan on leaving it there.
All right, super.
So to answer your question, I don't have a definitive time,
Okay.
because I wasn't sure what that meant. I tried looking in the zoning bylaws, and I didn't really find a definition for that.
Okay. So you'll have to move it to its new location.
Correct.
So what needs to be done to move it to it's just shifting it?
Yep, so right now, it's on, I mean, you can explain what it's sitting on right now.
Yeah, it's just on like crushed stone right now, because like I said, I wasn't trying to keep it permanent. So we're gonna slide it forward to meet, obviously, our lot line to accommodate our, land and not be on someone else's property, because that wasn't the original intent. But yeah, it's just gonna be sliding it forward.
Okay.
Mr. Sheehan, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
So it will continue to be on gravel?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I would like, but
Oh,
I guess that's up to.
no, that's fine. Gravel's fine.
So what if you're required to have a foundation?
So that's,
So right now, they actually, the building department has come back and said we may need footings or a monolithic slab. The application is actually for a monolithic slab.
Okay.
If we need to remove that, then we need to remove that when we leave.
The application is for a monolithic slab. Okay.
So it's a metal garage with a lean-to on the side with a monolithic slab. Right now, it's just sitting on
But
gravel.
the slab will not be removable.
That's where I don't understand what we should do if, you know.
If the it's basically up to the building
That's,
department.
yeah. And
They want you to put it on poles or onto a slab.
that's where it comes down to, we have to
Right.
put it in, and then at that point, we gotta smash it up, or yeah. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but
So what if you put in footings? So is the Conservation Commission okay with either a monolithic slab or footings for this application, or are they gonna have to come back?
I think I'm okay with either one. What do you think?
I'm fine with it.
Hopefully,
The slab would not be removable though, however.
yeah, they'd have to break it up.
Would that need a frost wall and all that?
that's, what I think that's what he's pointing at, so. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would love to just keep it on the gravel and build it. I
So
mean,
how far away, where,
So currently, it sits about, it's a little more than 31 feet away at the closest point. If we move it, it's another, about probably 10 feet, so it's a
Right,
little
so you have
41.
about-
It's a little more than 41 away at the
so you
closest.
have about, you're, all right, so you're well within our allotment of 10% into the no-build zone. So that's fine. You're outside of the lot. So, I don't think, I mean, single-family developments don't have to, they don't have to do any stormwater treatment.
No.
Right, so I think if you're fine with it, I think just granting them a monolithic slab or if they want. If the building department makes, whatever the building department makes you do is okay with us at this point, right?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Okay. All right, so whatever the building department requires is okay with us, as long as it remains in that location.
Okay.
All right? So, this is a public hearing, anyone to be heard on the matter? Seeing no one rising, and the issues, so can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries, and as for the notice of intent, can I get a motion to approve notice of intent with the standard order of conditions? Just make note that we approve of a monolithic slab or any other foundation that the building department requires. So for that motion, can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
so
much.
Have a great night.
So, next item on the agenda is a public hearing, notice of intent, Kelly Doherty, New England Power Company, line 337, 338, Jitney Bus, utility right-of-way between Main Street and Ginsburg Drive, 715 Main Street, behind map 34, lot 44, DEP number pending. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Alexandra Achandi, and I'm from BSC Group, located in 333 Waldo Street in Worcester, and I'm here on behalf of Kelly Doherty from National Grid. So the application is a notice of intent for soil borings at Structure 4, which is a jitney bus structure on the line 337, 338, which is located between Main Street and Ginsburg Drive. Access to the structure is existing along from Ginsburg Drive over to the transmission line right-of-way. So it crosses under the 337, 338 transmission line and into the 339, the M139, N140 transmission line, which is also included on your maps for references. We have done projects on the M139, N140 in the past, so we decided to add it to the maps just because you may be familiar with that area. Soil boring activities would be completed in 1 or 2 days. Matting is required for access to soil borings. In the alternative, if for some reason the soil boring contractor that gets selected has one of the robotic soil boring equipment that are under 3 PSI, they may be able to enter the wetland without the requirement for matting. I have not seen it yet, but it is available. So That's why we're permitting for either the use of matting or the use of under 3 PSI equipment, which is allowed under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay.
If it's matting, it would be the timber mats, the construction mats, which are 4x16 natural wood connected by the metal links. There's pictures in the application under the BMPs in the back. So those would be placed on the wetlands. They wouldn't be dragged. They would literally be lifted and put on the wetland. Vegetation management would not need to occur just because the mats will crush whatever vegetation is there. It's mostly shrub-like. There are no big trees in the wetland. And that would just provide access for the soil boring equipment to complete the borings. The borings are anywhere between 6 and 8 inches in circumference. It's going to be 2 for that one particular structure. And that's just to get an analysis of the soil composition. They go about 30 feet unless they hit ledge. If they hit ledge, they essentially stop because they cannot penetrate the ground any further. All the material that is excavated from the soil boring is either collected in jars for further analysis or put back in the hole. And then the area is restored to pre-existing conditions. If seed is required, wetland seed, which the mix is included also within the application is used, and then the area is stabilized with straw mulch.
Sounds like a pretty good plan. Bonnie, do you have any?
No DEP number yet, so we'll
Okay, I
have
can't
to
do
wait.
anything.
Okay.
Public hearing.
Oh, no, I mean,
No.
any questions?
I'm good.
All right. So this is a public hearing. Anyone to be heard on the matter? Seeing no one rising. So we need to wait for a DEP number. I think I have all the information that I need. So I don't, unless something happens. So September 18th, maybe? Can I get a motion to continue this to September?
So moved.
I'm sorry, what was the date?
18th.
18th. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Do you want us to sign in?
No, that's fine. All right, next item on the agenda is a public hearing notice of intent, Capellini's Realty LLC, 896 Main Street, map 48, lot 36, DEP number pending. Hi, good evening. Just name and address for the record.
Vinny Cruzio, 896 Main Street.
And we are here for a...
Exterior grease trap.
Right. And we have something about a dumpster. You're gonna do the dumpster. So where was that? Right, so we just have the issue about doing something with the dumpster. You
Yeah,
gotta
we're
bring it
gonna
up to
be
code.
fenced in.
Yep.
It was fenced in prior, but it looked terrible. You know, 3 or 4 years ago, we took it out, so we need to replace it in the exact same location it was.
Right, okay. And, let's see, oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Okay, Stefan, do you have any other issues except for the DEP number?
No, just we're still waiting for a DEP number. So we need that number in order to close out the hearing.
But I think we have all the, do you have any questions?
No, I'm okay.
I'm fine.
Good.
Right. So this is a public hearing. Anyone to be heard on the matter? Seeing no one rising. So I think we have all the information that we need. We just need to wait for that DEP number. As soon as that comes in, next meeting we can, just quickly give you what you need.
Oh, okay, so I gotta come back to the next one.
Will you have the DEP number by then?
Yeah, as long as the DEP number is in, you don't necessarily have to come in, but you can if you want to. We can, like I said, we have all the information that we need. As long as the DEP number comes in and they have no existing comments,
Okay.
then it'll be fine. We'll just, when we get to it, we'll just issue.
Okay,
All
great.
right? Sound good?
Yep.
All right. But got a motion to continue to September 18th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Great, thank you, have a good night.
Public hearing, notice of intent, Warmstead Lanes LLC, 437 Main Street, map 22, lot 69, DEP numbers pending, and the applicant is requesting a continuance to September 18th. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a request for a certificate of compliance, Jason and Michelle Giampa, 38 Baldwin Street, map 107, lot 3, DEP 3051057.
This was for an addition, it was within floodplain, they did calm storage, and they just put up their conservation markers, so I don't have any concerns.
All right.
So they're in compliance.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any questions from anybody? Can I get a motion to grant the certificate of compliance?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is non-substantial change requests, Carl Donald Drive Property Investments, 138 Assel Street, Carl Donald Drive, map 10, lot 51, DP number 3051062.
Good evening, Jim Hanley, Civil Design Consultants. This is where we are. I'm just going to kind of walk over here. The applicant has, the original plan required that a utility pole be relocated, basically at the access drive with Astle Street. They have contacted and coordinated with National Grid, who gave them a time frame of somewhere about 9 months to remove it. And so that makes the project kind of difficult to try to finish up before the snow flies. So about a month ago, give or take, we sat down with the town and talked about possibly shifting the roadway down about 25 feet, give or take, totally out of your jurisdiction. While we were doing that, however, we took another look at this pond. We've had some issues with standing water in retention ponds recently. So since we're coming back in for this, we figured we would modify the bottom of this pond, maintain the same exact storage volumes that we had at each incremental foot, but provide additional separation throughout the entire bottom of the pond so that we don't run into any unforeseen issues down the road. So we kind of took it as an opportunity to try to improve the design from two different perspectives. Haven't been in front of planning board yet. DPW has had the change for a few weeks, give or take. I don't have anything formal from DPW. However, the applicant met with them today and essentially was told that there are no conservation-related concerns that he has, and he's eventually going to produce a letter saying such. We came tonight because we're going to planning board on Monday, and we'd like to be able to get your approval, planning's approval Monday, and then be back out there working next week. If you have any questions, try to answer them for you.
So the retention pond is same volume. How are you changing the separation?
Yeah, it's same volume, same location. Actually, the bottom elevation is the same. However, the contour was pulled to the maybe 20 feet further back, which essentially only provided 2 feet of separation. So we want to provide 3 feet of separation throughout the entire bottom.
That prevents ponding.
Yeah, we've had 2 ponds last spring, and I don't know why. I've never had ponds have an issue. So I don't want to go through it again in the spring. So this gives us a little bit more. DEP requires 2 feet as a minimum. They like to have 4 feet. We never provide 4 feet because it just changes the grades too much. But we split the difference, and now we have 4 feet. So exact same location. It's just the bottom contour is a little bit smaller, and it fanned out just a hair.
Keep those pesky mosquitoes away.
Yeah.
And the other one's outside the jurisdiction, outside of the 100-foot, the driveway change?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, anyone have any questions?
I have no problems.
No problem.
Quick comment, we do have a formal letter, I got it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I got it right after your email.
Oh, okay.
I can forward it to you.
That'd be great.
But all of the comments from DPW are unrelated to this board, so
All?
there's no, well, there's not a lot. I don't think they're,
I'm kidding.
but yes, so
Okay, good.
unrelated.
Yeah, good.
So, can I get a motion that this is a non-substantial change?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. Next item on the agenda is, extension request Ponderosa Road, map 94, lot 373, DEP 3051015.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hello.
That is actually a friendly conversation going on right there, it doesn't sound like it.
I can't hear you, it's too loud.
We're requesting an extension to the order of conditions on Ponderosa Road. We were in 3 years ago because the original permits, I have some plans if you want to look at them, but it's up to you, Mr. Chairman, if you want to take a peek at it or not. But basically what happened is we came in 3 years ago for a new home on a road that's already been constructed. There was some coordination with Wilmington to do the lots in Wilmington, and finally the owner said, look, I'm not worried about Wilmington, I already have those order conditions in Tewksbury, I'm gonna do that. Unfortunately, the gentleman died, so now his estate is, got a hold of the property, and they're going to do something that's in this order, but we need an extension in order to do that. I think it expires in October, so I'll have to come in plenty of time to.
All right.
So just for the record, I'm Mark Ginsberg, I'm the trustee of the estate of Mount Carlos, so I'm the one that's here trying to push this along to get this extended.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with granting the extension. Any issues? No.
I'm fine.
Yeah, so can I get a motion to extend the order of conditions until October 6, 2022? Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. You're all
Thank you
set.
very much.
All right, and next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance New England Power Company, M139 N140 ROW, DEP 305991. Application N. You here for that?
I do have extra copies, and I had to make extra copies.
So again, Alexandra Chandi from BSC Group on behalf of National Grid. And this is to request a certificate of compliance for soil borings that were completed during the early winter of 2016. The soil borings were completed, and then we had another project coming in on the line that was also part of an NOI. And that NOI, the certificate of compliance was also issued, so we just had this certificate of compliance lingering that we need to close.
All right. Looks right. Looks right. Certificate of compliance. Stephanie, any issues?
Nope.
I'm fine.
I'm good. All right, everything looks to be in order, so can I get a motion to grant a certificate of compliance?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Next item on the agenda is an emergency certification, Cliff Construction 2 Turila Circle, map 34, lot 59. Anything unusual, or is this
No,
pretty?
just build septic, tying into sewer, and they are ordered to tie in.
Okay, so can I get a motion to certify the emergency, to ratify the emergency certification?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance, 61 Sheridan Lane, map 38, lot 33, formerly Sheridan Lane, lot 5, DEP 305575. Looking for a partial
Yes, I think that would be appropriate. This is a very complicated history, the site.
Oh, yeah.
There's, when looking back at all of the files, there's multiple order of conditions with this DEP number. They all have different dates. From what I can tell, the one that they're looking for a certificate of compliance for, it looks like it was just for lot 5, which is 61 Sheridan Lane. However, I would still just recommend a partial COC for this lot, just because.
So this lot is in compliance?
There's a house there. From what I can see, it's in compliance.
Okay.
It was, I mean, it's hard to tell at this point.
Is there a house there?
Yes.
Yeah, there is. And they're pretty far away from the wetlands.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I remember this
Yeah.
place, so that's not really where the, oh, yeah. it
Yeah.
was. That is where the issue was, yeah. I'm sure it's fine, though. I've seen it. I think I have seen that again. I'm sure it's fine. I've seen that property cut in the past. And they have everything right. So, P. So, anyone have any other issues, or can we grant a? Where are we going? Okay, they requested a full.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna grant them a partial.
right, because we don't want to
Right.
give it for the whole subdivision.
So we're going to make a motion to grant a partial certificate of compliance for 61 Sheridan Lane, map 38, lot 33, formerly Sheridan Lane, lot 5, on DEP 305575. Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So hopefully that satisfies them. And last item on the agenda is a Conservation Trust Fund request from Richard Montoya, the town manager.
Yep, so this is for, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, there's a property behind the Walmart. It's open space, so it's managed by the Conservation Commission, and there's a community of people living out there, so the whole property is pretty much trashed and needs to be cleaned up. So he's requesting to use Conservation Trust Fund, since it is open space land, to clean up the property. So they have to hire someone to come in and actually clean it up, and then post no trespassing signs.
Ooh, heroin use. Okay, so, looks like hazardous waste.
Right.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that is this company certified to take away hazardous waste
Medical waste.
or medical waste?
I assume so. They've cleaned up another property with the same issue right next door.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
think they
Okay.
know.
They have the proper, what do they call that?
You have to have your
Workman's
certificate.
compensation.
Well, it's not workman's compensation, I'd make him needles and
Mhm.
hepatitis and all this other stuff.
I think I'd be safe to assume that Mr. Montori's taking care of that
I would
issue.
hope, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't,
That was my only question, I just
Yeah.
want to
Okay.
make sure, because it is medical, well, it is medical waste in a sense.
I think that's why they're paying so much. I'm pretty sure he's aware
Yeah.
of the situation. Like I said, I would trust Mr. Montori to have taken care of that.
And, okay, B&B trade, okay. Just want to make sure it's disposed of properly, which I'm assuming it is going to be. Yeah.
I mean, from what it says, yes, and I would assume they understand what they're getting themselves into.
Right.
Right.
I think they've been out there. And
So they must have some type of cradle-to-grave receipt that we get.
I don't know. I would have to
I would inquire about that. I'll still approve the $4,000, but I would ask that question.
ask.
I agree.
Because cradle to grave is one where, let's say, they decided they weren't gonna be legitimate after they cleaned it up, and they decided to dump it in the pond, or dump it on the side of the road, you know, so you need a certificate from them saying that we paid you $4,000 and we dumped it at this place with a
Okay.
receipt.
Okay, so we'll make a motion to approve conditioned upon
Cradle to grave.
We're receiving cradle to grave documentation for the service. I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. All right. That covers it. Do you have any other business? And we have a motion to adjourn on the table.
I move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carries.